What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Twins Latest. I'm Sam Calder. Hope you guys are having a good start to your week. We have officially made it through the first weekend of baseball, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. I should note I am recording this on Sunday as the Twins game is going on right now, actually. So we will talk about today's game, well, Sunday's game, and today's game in tomorrow's episode. We're just going to focus on Friday and Saturday's game today. But before we get to that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Twins news and updates with baseball season officially upon us. But without further ado, let's get the fun started. I want to kick off this episode by talking about some things I noticed over the course of the first couple of games for the Twins. They went 1-1 with a 10-3 victory against the Gophers on Friday, followed by a 7-2 loss to the Red Sox on Saturday. I do also want to say before I get too far, Joe Ryan was supposed to start on Saturday, but was a very late scratch due to back tightness. And I'm talking like 5 to 10 minutes before the game actually started, he was ruled out. I don't think it's anything to worry about, but just wanted to keep you guys in the loop. I will update you with more info when I get it. As far as specific player performances, I'm going to start with a guy that I'm extremely excited about in Walker Jenkins. He went 1-for-1 with a double and a walk in Friday's game against the Gophers. He didn't play Saturday. And while it was against, a college team, it was still a very encouraging day at the plate. He ripped an RBI double to right center in his first plate appearance, had an exit velocity of 102.6 miles an hour. So very encouraging to see him do that in his first at-bat of the spring. He did have a play in center field that wasn't great. It was ruled a hit in the score sheet, but he dove at a ball and did not come particularly close. And it wound up being, I think, a triple. Not ideal, but it was the first game of the spring. We'll cut him a little bit of slack. Another guy who impressed offensively was Royce Lewis. He smoked a ball in his first at-bat Saturday over the fence, 108 miles an hour off the bat. He followed that up with an RBI single and a stolen base his next time up. Royce Lewis is healthy, and it's a beautiful thing when he is. We just hope it keeps up that way for, a long period of time. Luke Keeschel hit a couple balls well on Saturday, too. He had a hard hit fly out to right center his first time up and then ripped a triple in the left center gap, which was nearly a home run. So great to see from him. And then on the pitching side of things, I thought Simeon Woods Richardson looked really good on Saturday. He threw 2 scoreless innings. His fastball sat right around 93 miles an hour, which is pretty normal for him. His command was solid for the most part. He did struggle getting his curveball across for strikes, but he was locating his other secondary pitch as well. And then lastly with Debbie Matthews, I thought it was good and bad. He threw a first pitch strike to 6 of the 7 batters he faced. He got a fair amount of swings and misses as well, but he struggled to put college hitters away. He had a 3-2 count on 3 of his 7 hitters he faced and just didn't have great command of his secondary pitches. But it's his first outing of the spring. Rust is definitely still being shaken off. And there were definitely some other good things to come from this weekend. And like I said, we'll talk about Sunday's game and today's game in tomorrow's episode. But it's still very early, and guys are still getting back into, the flow of the season again. But it is great to have baseball back. Moving on over to our prospect deep dive. Today we are looking at a guy who pitched Friday against the Gophers in John Klein. He was not outstanding on Friday. He gave up a couple of hard hit balls over his inning of work. But as I just said with those other guys, it's his first outing of the spring. Klein is a 6'5", 225-pound righty from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Just a massive human being, kind of built like an NFL tight end. He will turn 24 in April, and to my surprise, he was not ranked in the Twins' top 30 prospect ranking on MLB Pipeline, and I think people in general are a little too low on him. Klein does not get the same hype as guys like Connor Prelip or Kenji Rojas or Dasan Hill, but he's on basically the exact same trajectory as Prelip and Rojas especially. Last year, he threw 106 1/3 innings spread across AA and AAA. Really solid overall numbers, but it's worth noting the splits. He threw 80 2/3 of those innings at AA, finishing with a 3.12 ERA. But then when he made the jump to AAA, his ERA skyrocketed to 6.66. His K per 9 did jump up a little bit from 10.6 to 11.6, but along with that, his walks per 9 jumped up from 2.7 to 4.6. It's definitely worth noting that even though his ERA was in the mid to high 6s at AAA, his FIP was down at 3.30, so it kind of seems like Klein just got really unlucky. His BABIP was at 373, which is extremely high, so that's almost guaranteed to come down in 2026 to a number a little more sustainable. Just as a reference point, his BABIP at AA was only 299, so just about a 75-point gap. Looking at his pitch mix, he's got a full arsenal with a fastball, a slider, a sinker, a curveball, and a changeup. One thing I did notice on Friday with Klein is that it seemed like his velocity was just a tick higher than it was last year. His fastball and sinker were regularly touching 96, even sometimes 97. And last year he sat right around 94, 95. It could just be because he's in a warmer environment that his fastball is a mile an hour or two faster. And that's naturally going to happen when you're in a warmer environment. But I'll be keeping my eye on that over the course of the spring. His slider and changeup are both solid secondary pitches, but all in all, his stuff is not amazing. He doesn't generate a lot of swings and misses, though his hard hit rate at AAA was under 40%, which is a promising sign. One of the things I like to look for in a young pitcher is their first pitch strike rate. Klein's was below 50% last year and has been over the course of his entire professional career. I would really like to see that number come up to, nothing crazy, like 55% this year. And I cannot stress enough the importance that first pitch strikes make as a pitcher. I think I've brought it up with Shohei Ohtani when we talked about some other young pitchers, but his splits when he gets a first pitch strike versus when he doesn't are dramatically different. His average when working from a 1-0 count last year was 329 compared to when he got a first pitch strike, his batting average was 227. Just getting ahead in counts more could be a massive, massive advantage for Klein next season. And so while he's not getting the same hype as other Twins pitching prospects, that doesn't mean he can't help this pitching staff. And if we see the luck factor swing a little bit more in Klein's favor, he's definitely someone who can earn a major league call-up this season. One other thing I found interesting with Klein is that he made 31 appearances last season, but only 15 starts. So it kind of seems like he projects as a reliever long-term. And I think he could be a really solid guy who goes 2 to 3 innings a couple times a week. He probably doesn't have the stuff to be, a late inning reliever, but it is good enough to be serviceable at the major league level. And so I think Klein is definitely somebody that we will see at some point in 2026. Sticking with the pitcher theme, I wanted to very briefly touch on something I've been seeing in the Twins social media world. With the Pablo Lopez news we got early last week, I've been seeing some people asking and wondering if the Twins should just throw in the towel and trade Joe Ryan as well. And I get the idea behind it. I mean, Lopez was one of the probably 3 guys you absolutely could not afford to lose. But I think that's a little overdramatic. And that's not to say it can't happen at any point this season. I mean, if the Twins just suck and are 15 games below 500 at the All-Star break, I would be good with moving him. Just not yet. Ryan will obviously be the ace for the Twins this year, assuming his back tightness is nothing more than just tightness, which I don't think it is. And after him, there's a lot of depth, but also a lot of uncertainty in the starting rotation. And the Twins front office has said publicly multiple times that they plan to be competitive this year. While they may not wind up being a super competitive team necessarily, if you plan on being competitive, at least for the first little bit of the season, you simply cannot trade Joe Ryan, at least in my opinion. The other thing you have to factor in when talking about a possible Joe Ryan trade is that while the bullpen has improved over the last month or so, it's still not a particularly strong unit. You've got a couple of guys in there that you can be confident in, but outside of that, it's a lot of unknown. Joe Ryan should comfortably be the Twins' best pitcher this season, and at least until you're firmly out of the playoff discussion, you have to hold on to him, in my opinion. And then to wrap up the episode, we've got our Twins player preview. I just got done mentioning the bullpen, and today we are looking at newly acquired reliever Anthony Banda. He was brought over from the Dodgers in exchange for cash considerations. He was designated for assignment by the Dodgers just before he was traded, which may raise some concerns, but you have to keep in mind that the Dodgers have like 6 MLB closers in their bullpen already, so they did not need Banda in the slightest. He threw 65 innings last year in LA, finishing with a 3.18 ERA and 61 strikeouts to 34 walks. The walks are definitely the biggest problem for him. His walk rate was in the 3rd percentile of all major league pitchers last year at 13%. Outside of the walks, though, he's a really solid pitcher. He gets a fair amount of swings and misses and has consistently been very good at limiting hard contact. Last year, his hard hit rate was at 38.6%, which was good for the 64th percentile of all major league pitchers. And over the past couple of seasons, he has significantly reduced the amount of base hits he's given up. I'm going to go back to 2022 because he only threw 7 innings in 2023. But in that season, he gave up 43 hits in 26 and 2/3 innings, a pretty horrific number. But in 2024, he gave up 44 hits over 45 innings. And last year, it was just 45 hits over 65 innings. So massive improvements in that department. Looking at Banda's arsenal, he throws 4 pitches with a slider, a sinker, a fastball, and a changeup. Though he threw his changeup just 4% of the time last season. His slider and sinker are his best pitches from a movement perspective. They both had above league average stuff plus grades. Although in terms of command, he located his fastball better than any other pitch. So it's a really nice balance of stuff and location with Banda. I've been very vocal this offseason about how I don't think the Twins will have a primary closer. That said, if there winds up being one, my money would be on Banda to fill that role. He was better against left-handed hitters than righties. The walks really did him in against righties. But if he can clean up the command on that side, he will be really, really solid against both lefties and righties. And you can't say that about many Twins pitchers in that bullpen. So overall, I think the Twins going out and acquiring Banda is a huge addition, and I expect him to be a regular for the Twins in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings of games this season. But that's all I've got, so we are going to wrap the episode there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Twins Latest. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for daily news and Twins updates. If you've got a Twins-related topic or topics that you want me to touch on in a future episode, please let me know down below in the comments. But until next time, I'm Sam Calder, and I'm out. Peace.